Well, at the start of the entire series, Mary was this extremely stubborn young woman, a kind of standoffishness that comes from being the first child but not a son, you know, unable to inherit, actually just quite immature.
Really, Edith? Do you have to put on such an exhibition?
She's not.
I was supposed to be engaged to him, for heaven's sake, not you. And I can control myself.
Certain things happen to her and the family, losing Sybil, you know, eventually then losing a husband. She matures. I guess I sort of judged her in the beginning. I thought, oh, she's just this, you know, not very likeable, posh cow, you know? But she, of course, became this very complicated woman, and there was much more colour in the palette than I'd imagined.
I wish I could work you out.
I wish I could work me out. She has the last word on everything, you know, wants to do good by her parents, but at the same time, she's fighting against them.
I'm stubborn. I wish I wasn't, but I am.
There's a kind of superiority that she feels among her family.
Have you been poking around in my things?
Of course not. Come on.
From the get-go, it was obvious that there was this sibling rivalry between them.
You have to admit, it's quite funny.
I'll admit that if I ever wanted to attract a man, I'd steer clear of those clothes and that hat.
So he slipped the hook.
At least I'm not fishing with no bait.
And they just know how to push each other's buttons, you know, and wind each other up, as siblings can do.
Mary took the Duke up to the attics.
Whatever for?
Where was this, dear?
We were just looking around.
Looking around? What is there to look at but servants' rooms? What was the real reason?
Don't be such a chatterbox, Edith.
I think we'll go through. I still don't understand.
Will you hold your tongue?
Mary's very destructive. It comes from her feeling so bad about herself and actually disliking herself so much that she just wants to destroy everyone else's life.
I'm just amazed that even you would choose the day after I learn the man I love is dead to try out a new fashion.
I don't believe that's quite fair.
And if that weren't enough, you've planned a jolly picnic for Saturday. Am I really expected to join in?
Hopefully not, as you usually spoil everything.
And she knows she's doing it.
With Edith, I just say things and then they can't be unsaid.
It's like an awareness. It's like as she says it, as it comes out of her mouth, she knows how awful she's being.
Look, I wasn't to know you hadn't told him. It never occurred to me...
Just shut up! I don't know what's happened. Tom's made you feel bad, or Papa. Or maybe it's just the same old Mary, who wants her cake and hate me too.
I never meant to...
Yes, you did! Who do you think you're talking to? Mama? Your maid? I know you. I know you to be a nasty, jealous, scheming bitch.
Now listen, you pathetic...
You're a bitch!
You see, I want you to marry me.
Why?
Because I think very highly of you.
Very highly. Goodness.
Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
I've made a long journey to ask a short question. Will you marry me?
Should we just get married now?
Now. Mr. Pamuk.
The storyline with Pamuk very much cemented the character of Mary. People weren't expecting to see such a scandal during that period. The Turkish diplomat dying in her bed. It's really shocking. It's scandalous, and the audience feel that way.
We will figure in a scandal of such magnitude it will never be forgotten until long after we're both dead. I'll be ruined, Mama. Ruined and notorious. A laughingstock, a social pariah. Is that what you want for your eldest daughter? Is it what you want for the family?
She became very vulnerable and then proceeded to live with this secret and this shame.
Is it true you wrote to the Turkish ambassador about Kemal?
And what if I did? He had a right to know how his countrymen died. In the arms of a slut.
And then, of course, Richard Carlyle threatened to publish the story.
And I'll say something now I hope I won't have to repeat. If you think you can jilt me or in some way set me aside, I tell you now, you have given me the power to destroy you, and don't think I won't use it.
To be honest, Richard Carlyle was possibly a kind of rebellious choice. She knew that he wouldn't be very popular with the family.
She wants us to invite a hawker of newspaper scandal to stay as a guest in this house. It's lucky I have a sense of irony.
Richard was a very controlling character and man in Mary's life, which isn't like Mary, actually. She doesn't like being told what to do or manhandled in any way.
I want to be a good husband and for you to be happy, but don't ever cross me, do you understand? Never.
So she was probably with him for longer than necessary, but because he had this hold over her, that he would reveal the story of Pamuk dying in her bed, and she would be ruined.
It's mad not to give a false name.
Always make a lie as truthful as possible.
Mary has the, saucy weekend away with Gillingham. That scandal then becomes the next thing. I had this great line to Rita Bevan.
And I want £1,000 to keep my mouth shut.
That's ridiculous.
We'll see how ridiculous it is. I'm going now, but I'll be back.
Don't bother. You're not the first person who's tried to blackmail me.
As I was saying it, kind of in my head, I'm thinking, because of the reputation of the family and who they are and their status in this world, those stories could still affect Mary quite badly if she's not careful. With Matthew and Mary, I remember at the time someone said they're like the Ross and Rachel of period drama.
And before they or you get any ideas, I will choose my own wife.
What on earth do you mean?
Well, they're clearly going to push one of the daughters at me. They'll have fixed on that when they heard I was a bachelor.
Lady Mary Crawley.
I do hope I'm not interrupting.
Lady Mary.
Cousin Mary, please. Mamma has sent me down to welcome you and to ask you to dine with us tonight. Unless you're too tired.
We would be delighted.
Good. Come at 8.
Won't you stay and have some tea?
Oh, no. You're far too busy. And I wouldn't want to push in.
Well, she objects to Matthew because she hates anyone being pushed upon her.
Lady Mary, I hope you didn't misunderstand me. I was only joking.
Of course. And I agree. The whole thing is a complete joke.
And because he is the heir, she doesn't really have a choice. It's an arranged marriage, essentially. She's kind of forced to fall in love with this person, so she's just resisting it.
Do you hunt?
Occasionally. I suppose you're more interested in books than country sports.
I probably am. You'll tell me that's rather unhealthy.
Not unhealthy. Just unusual. Among our kind of people.
Mary's a terrible snob, so Matthew's just not good enough in her eyes. I think that's what was so great about that relationship, is actually the audience could see that they were perfect for one another, and that Mary was just being spoiled and, resisting it as much as possible just to, in spite of her parents.
Can you manage without your stick?
You are my stick.
There was a lot of anticipation leading up to the proposal scene. And the setting was so beautiful.
You've lived your life and I've lived mine. And now it's time we live them together.
We've been on the edge of this so many times, Matthew. Please don't take me there again unless you're sure.
I am sure.
I remember it just being really fun and sort of knowing that it was quite a magical scene and just sort of hoping it would turn out that way, which it did, I think.
Lady Mary Crawley, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
Yes.
It was the ending to finally an ending to this dance that had been going on for 2 years between the two characters.
You came. To be honest, I wasn't completely sure you would.
I'm glad to hear it. I should hate to be predictable.
And then, of course, it all changed when he died. Well, her reaction to his death is shock in the beginning. She's not really showing any emotion. She's just in this very, very dark place. She won't leave the house. She won't spend any time with George because, obviously, every time she looks at him, she thinks of Matthew. Poor little orphan. And so the family in that first episode in series 4 are just finding ways of trying to pull her out of this dark hole that she's in.
I thought you might like to take this down with you, in case you want to walk. It's quite chilly.
Where's the black one? There's the great line in series 4 when she says to Violet, somehow, with Matthew's death, all the softness that he found in me seems to have dried up and drained away. Maybe it was only ever there in his imagination. I think that kind of summed up the character in a lot of ways because Matthew really brought out the best in Mary. She needs to let go, and that's what Carson and Violet recognise. It's that she needs to grieve properly.
You must choose either death or life.
But a new man also begins to gain her attention.
Thanks for keeping my spirits up.
Some men hate having strangers with them. My father does.
Oh, I don't mind. Especially not you.
But she just resists it. She'd rather have some kind of fight because it's more interesting.
Oh, Henry, please don't make this harder than it has to be.
Are you mad? If you're trying to get rid of me, I'm going to make this as hard and as horrible as I can.
Well, you're being extremely unfair.
The accident with Charlie Rogers and Mary's, initial reaction that, it could have been Henry in that car, it just sort of pushes her back into her shell again. So she just decides to just protect herself.
Can't be a crash widow again. I can't. I'd live in terror, dreading every race, every practice, every trial. I cannot do it.
She doesn't want to fall in love with this person. She can't bear to be hurt again. She just wants to kind of stay in this dark place. It's safer there than actually pushing through and being happy.
Today brought up Matthew's death and all the rest of it. You're in a black mist.
It's not what I want.
You're frightened of being hurt again. But let me tell you this. You will be hurt again, and so will I. Because being hurt is part of being alive. But that is no reason to give up on the man who's right for you.
She sort of discovers in the end that it's not about finding the next great love after Matthew. It's actually just love for herself. In the words of Whitney Houston, the greatest love of all.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
Mary does get the ending that everyone wants, but it takes some time to get there. It's still a struggle, but in the end, she is happy, and I guess she's made some kind of peace with herself and begins to like herself much more. I think it's well put together at the end. I like the ending that she has.
Well, Mr. Talbot, you have swept me off my feet.
I promise you won't be sorry.
I better not be.